Hey everyone, welcome to La Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Bilo Gonde, and this is episode 1, season 1. This episode is called Garden. Enjoy! Hey guys, welcome to La Voice Podcast. I'm so excited that this is finally happening. This is episode 1, the first episode ever to come out. And yeah, it's just exciting for me because I know that I've been planning for this podcast for such a long time. If you are someone who's close to me, then you'd know that I've been planning this podcast for about a year now. And one day I just sat in my room and I was like, is it time to actually put this out there? Is it time to start this podcast? And then after that I prayed. And the crazy thing is, right after I prayed, I got a message, and this message said, "You are what you do, not what you say you will do." And I've been saying that I'm going to start this podcast. So I guess it was just God finally telling me that, "I girl, it's your time to shine now. You've been saying, now let's do this." So this podcast is really a safe space for each and every person. I think, yes, I want to have uncomfortable conversations here, and I just want to be candid and honest with myself. So, the first thing I'm going to tell you is if you've seen our Instagram page, right? I've spoken about the word intentionality and how you're going to hear this word a couple of times, maybe every episode. Who knows? So I want to really focus on this word intention, right? I feel like I want to start becoming the girl who creates opportunities for herself. I want to enter a season where I do things for myself instead of me just sitting and waiting for the universe to finally open a door or for someone to come to me and be like, yeah, you come, let me give you this opportunity. I'm really tired of waiting. I just want to be that person who starts becoming more intentional about how I treat myself, how I speak to myself. I want to be the person who takes care of themselves in the sense that, like, if I've been working hard, then it's time for me to play hard. I need to be intentional about how I balance my life. Another thing that I want you to know is that I feel as though you are also listening to this podcast on intention. It's not a coincidence that you're here. Literally, I've been praying for the longest time ever. So I feel as though God has ordered you to be here. And it might not be like he came and he was like, yeah, 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 you got to be here. You got to listen to this podcast. But it was more or less like he guided you towards this platform. I called this episode Garden because it's really inspired by this other book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Now, today's episode is really about thinking of your mind like a garden, right? And I'm going to read a text from the book because I'm fancy like that. So, you're sitting in the middle of a magnificent, lush green garden. The garden is filled with the most spectacular flowers you have ever seen. The environment is supremely tranquil and silent. Savor the sensational delights of this garden and feel as if you have all the time in the world to enjoy this natural oasis. Obviously, the book continues and goes further to explain what's going on. So, this text really explains that you, as an individual, are in a lush green garden, a magnificent garden, and yeah, it's supremely tranquil, peaceful, anything that you'd really wish for your life, to be in a peaceful environment, to have to be surrounded by the most beautiful things, to be in a great environment, right? But the thing is, the book also speaks about the fact that you are the person who has to create that environment for yourself. So, in as much as you're in this magnificent, lush green garden, a beautiful garden that is peaceful, tranquil, and you're just savoring each moment, you're taking in each breath and feeling peace while you're at it, you are the one who needs to create that space for yourself. You are the gardener, meaning that you need to be intentional with how you take care of the soil, what seeds you plant, how you water your garden, which time are you planting those seeds, and is it the right season, right? When we think about it, I also like to think of the mind, that we need to be more intentional with how we take care of ourselves as individuals and also how we take care of our mind, because everything that we do comes from the mind. Actually, it comes from the heart, flows to the mind, and then becomes an action, right? But I digress, Gesan. So, I want us to be more intentional about how we live our lives, how we take care of ourselves as individual. Hence the name Love Always. It just comes from the fact that I choose to love myself always, and even if it means I have to um, say no to a couple of people, even if it means I have to change the environments that I'm in, as long as I'm putting myself first, I'll be able to produce the best garden with the best fruits, the best peaceful environment, and so forth, as the book explains, right? We need to take care of our minds, nourish it, and cultivate it, and then it will blossom beyond our expectations. I'm going to give you a bit of context on how I came about this topic, right? I'm not going to expose myself like that, but when I was in matric, right? Um, I was just a person who had a negative mindset. Everything around me affected me negatively, right? To the point where I just felt so demotivated and depressed with life. And I really didn't enjoy waking up in the morning. I was like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Why am I doing this? What's the point even? Because most of the time they'll be telling you that, nah, this is for your future. Nah, this is for you to be successful, things like that. But where does success really come from? Hey, I would just wake up in the morning and be like, hey, is school really going to help me with my future? To be honest, hey, like, I get it. I'm a disciplined person. And when it comes to my academics, I'm very disciplined. And it's like one of the things that I prioritize because of the family that I was raised in. But in all honesty, is it worth it? That was the phase that I was in. And actually, I read on something quite interesting while I was researching for this episode. I read about this thing called internal locus of control and external locus of control. So, external locus of control means that everything around you affects how you think and the quality of your life, right? So, basically, if you are paying attention to negative things around you, then that will create a negative effect in your life, long story short. Then internal locus of control is what you do about your life affects the quality of your thoughts and the quality of your life. So let me give you an example. Let's say we're in a math class, right? So you're in a math class and your son, you're failing this math class, right? So the thing is, you're sitting at the back of the class, so you can't hear the teacher, you can't see the board, so you can't write your notes. Number two, this teacher is talking gibberish, so you don't even understand what this teacher is saying while she's trying to show you these calculations and all those things. And to make matters worse, the person sitting next to you keeps talking to you, and you need to focus so that you don't have to fail this math class, right? So everything around you in your environment is just working towards making you fail this math class, right? That is external locus of control. You focusing on everything happening around you, and that affects the result of your math mark or your math grade, whatever. Whereas internal locus of control is more like, what are you going to do about it? Why don't you go to the teacher after class and ask her to help you more because you don't understand when she's speaking? Why don't you ask the person sitting next to you to keep quiet because you need to focus and concentrate on the lesson? Why don't you ask the teacher to move you to the front of the class so that you can see the board, hear the information, and also, are you really studying for your math test? So that's internal locus of control. It's more like, what are you doing about it? What can you do in order for your life to improve, in order for your life to be better, basically? So, yeah, back to the 2020. Oh, child, not me exposing my age. So, back to the matric story. Yeah, I just had like an external locus of control mindset, and I was just someone who would take in all the negative, and I'd be like, nah, life is not great, life is not working out. Until this one time where I chose to take a gap year and really pause on my life. And I'm really grateful for that phase. Many people came to me and were like, nah, Bilo, the unemployment rate is high. So what are you going to do? Because you're going to be unemployed if you take this gap year. And I'm like, nah, child, what are you saying? Yeah, basically, a lot of people came to me and tried to instill doubt and tell me that, nah, this gap year thing is not for you. And I think really before you take a gap year, you need to think, what do I want from it and how do I want it to serve me? Because I've heard a lot of stories of other people taking gap years and they were like, nah, it was a bad experience. I should have moved on and went to school. So think about, what do you want to do during your gap year? What do you want to gain from your gap year, whether it's expected or unexpected, really? But anyway, I took a gap year and I started journaling, writing down my thoughts, reflecting on my day, thinking about how did I feel today and what can I do to improve my day. And you know what? Through journaling, that's how Love Always podcast really started. It was me writing down how I felt, writing down my mental health state. Nah, actually, to be honest, I'm quite depressed and I want to get out of it, There was a lot of praying, a lot of reading, not just the Bible, but reading books. Um, and yeah, it just felt like that phase of my life found me and I didn't really look for it. And to be honest, I wasn't really at a state where I was like, nah, I'm very intentional. I want to take a gap here because I want to gain this, do that. It's like that phase came to me and it found me. And at the end of the day, it worked out. I feel like it was a growing pain phase where the pain was the fact that I was depressed, I was sad. But then the growth part was the fact that, you know what, at the end of the day, I learned how to control my emotions, not really control my emotions, but journal my emotions, write, read, and learn more about who I am as an individual and what is my purpose in life? So, yeah, I wanted this season of Love Always to really focus on mental health and how to declutter the mess we create in our minds by building a beautiful garden one step at a time? And I just want us to focus more on thinking positively, speaking positively towards ourselves, because those things really do affect us as people? But yeah, we'll see how the season goes, whether we stick on the mental health topic or not. Anyway, let's get to mastering our minds. Now, let's think of negative mental health habits, right? These are the things that try to imprison our minds. They're like the toxic waste of the mind. So, these are like our worries, our anxieties, constantly fretting about the past, constantly creating self created thoughts on the future, self created fears, rather, on the future. And these things really bring havoc in our world. They don't build us as people. Instead, they really break us down. And yeah, it's like the weeds we create in our minds, that we need to take out. Now, I really want to speak more on what mental health habits are. So, mental health habits are automatically generated thought processes that occur in response to particular situations. Long story short, mental health habits are the things that you think about when something happens to you, whether it's a challenge, whether it's something good. You know how when someone compliments you, you immediately feel a sense of self confidence. So, the same thing with our minds. When we are faced with a challenge, does your mind really gravitate towards positive thoughts, or does your mind gravitate towards like the bad things, you know? To be honest with myself, sometimes when, let's say, I want an assignment to work out well and it's not working out well, I'm just there like, girl, do you even know what you're doing? Which is not good, because that in that moment, I need myself to be thinking positive things, that thinking solutions, but instead I'm there breaking myself down. Hence, I choose to listen to music that really encourages me and builds me and makes me feel more confident to go, even though I'm going through this, I can make it through. I feel like we really need to start preparing our minds for a more positive mental health state, more positive mental health habits, so that whenever we're faced through tough situations or challenges, we immediately gravitate towards our positive mental health habits instead of the ones that break us down or try to tell us that we're not good enough, you know? So, preparing our gardens, which is preparing our minds. In order to learn how to build a positive mental health state, we need to reflect on our past habits and past experiences. Now, this is the part where I'm going to tell you to grab a pen and paper because I'm going to ask you two questions. Number one, what are things that are good that have happened to you in the past year or 12 months? And then what are the bad things that have happened to you in the past year or 12 months, right? Now, reflection is quite important because there's this phrase that says, it's hard to see the frame when you're in the picture, meaning that when you're in the moment or when you're going through something, it just feels like the world is crumbling down on you or the walls are closing in. But when you view it from a perspective, once it's all over, said and done with, once you view it from a perspective, now you're able to see that, oh, this is how I acted in this type of situation, or this is how this challenge makes me feel, you know? So we act better or we think better when we're viewing life from a perspective, our own lives, to be honest. Now, let's start with the good. You're going to write down things that gave you joy, moments that gave you happiness, you know? Those things are good because they really build our self confidence. And it really helps us to notice that, actually, this is my character. When I'm going through this or when this curveball is thrown at me, I can really handle it, you know? Whereas I also want you to write the bad things that have happened, which is writing down the challenges that you've had. Now, from these challenges, you have to take lessons. You have to draw lessons from them so that you're able to see, okay, I really didn't act well in this situation. How could I act better? And how will it improve my future? You know, how can I act different so that it improves the situation in the future? Now, I'm going to give you a few lessons that I've learned. I learned that your inner circle needs to serve you and you need to serve them. So I'm a person who's big on inner circles. Like, I'm not a squad girl, guys. I can have two friends and I'm good with that. That's literally me. I don't need to have a group of friends where I can I can have a group of friends and we're hanging out together, but now when I need someone to call, it's more like, nah, who can I call out of this like squad? And nobody pops up. So I'm more of an inner circle type of girl, right? And so when I said my inner circle needs to serve me and I need to serve them, what I actually mean is that I need to be in relationships that don't drain or take my energy because that means that season is over. That friendship is over. And also, I can't be giving and pouring out to you as an individual and you don't reciprocate the energy. If you are not reciprocating, that means you have to go. And if I'm not reciprocating, that means I have to go, you know? That means there's a different space that I'm in or a different level that I'm in. You could be higher, I could be lower, it doesn't matter. As long as when we're in the season, we are really together and we're learning things from each other. And not to move off topic, but to be honest, I really hate being in a friendship or a relationship and I don't learn anything from it. I don't gain anything from it. I could be sitting with you for 30 minutes. We don't even need to be friends. You could be my lecturer. You could be a random person I met in town, you know? And if I sit with you for 30 minutes and I gain something from that interaction, I really value that. But now you're my friend and I'm sitting with you for 30 minutes and what did I learn? YouTube videos. Zongsisangan. That's the type of person I am, but friendships is a topic for another day. So, the second lesson I learned is that there's no use crying over spilled milk. My best is good enough. So, one thing about me is that I love things to be perfect. When I execute something, I want it perfect. If it's not perfect, I don't want it, you know? But then I also learned that, you know what? if I've worked hard, if I've put in the work and things didn't work out, it's okay. There's no use crying over spilled milk. There's no use dwelling on that thing that didn't work out. Just draw a lesson from it and learn how to change it, or learn how you acted during that situation, and move on, Life is about learning. I was watching this video by Lauren Hill, and she was talking about how when we're at the top, when we're at the peak, that's like our mastering phase. And then when you're at the top, you need to always go down. And when you're down, you're in your learning phase. So life is constantly you moving up and down, which is you moving from your mastering phase to your learning phase and back up to your mastering phase again. So, yeah, basically, crashing down and getting to a learning phase is really devastating for me, but I'm learning to love my learning phase and embrace it. But yeah, basically, by reflecting on our challenges, we can learn and create a tangible reminder of our potential to grow. We're always learning in this life, and failures are a chance to grow stronger and wiser every single time. So now that we've reflected and we've thought about everything that has happened to us in the past 12 months, you can gain an understanding of who you are as an individual and who you are as a person. And from that, now you can learn how to change the habits that you don't like about yourself. Now, I'm going to ask you the next question. What are some untrue beliefs you've heard about yourself? I'll give you an example. So let's say I'm lazy. I'm always procrastinating. Um, I can't say I'm a terrible dancer, because what if you are? But anyway, you can learn how to be a good dancer. Now, the thing is, the mistake we make is that we personalize our bad habits, well, some of our bad habits, rather. And the thing is, you're not lazy. You've just built lazy habits over the years, and you need to change them and you need to improve them. Now, I'm not telling you to be delusional, right? In as much as we live life and we walk by faith, not by sight, and we are like delusional about our dreams for now, but they work out eventually in the future. Like, I'm not telling you to say, nah, I'm not lazy. I just need to change my habits. And then you don't change them. Child, you got to do something about it, right? If you don't like it or you don't enjoy it, change it. Or if you don't like it and you don't enjoy it, build new or good things from it. Like, yeah, I'm going to explain this further. What I'm trying to say is that it's not personal, but don't be delusional. If you're doing things that are not serving you, then you need to change them. Period. Now, I learned this thing from another book. It's called Atomic Habits, and it's called habit stacking, right? So, habit stacking means that you take all your small habits and you just build good habits on top of those habits that you already have. So, let's say your goal is to go to the gym, right, every morning, or take a walk every morning, right? Now, usually you wake up in the morning, you do your bed, and then you scroll on your phone, and then time goes by, and now it's time for you to go to work, right? Try and create new habits that can lead you towards your goal. So basically, instead of you waking up, scrolling on your phone, what you can do is you wake up. Your second habit is to get out of bed. Third habit is to do your bed. And then your fourth habit is to immediately put on your gym clothes. And then just like that, you already have the attire. The last thing you have to do is go outside, take a walk, or go in your car and drive to the gym. That's it. That's easy, right? So habit stacking means that you take all those small habits and they build a routine for your life, right? And it's so important to build a routine or build a system, because by building routines and building systems, we can build what? Discipline, period. Like, I'm acing this. I feel like I'm doing a test and I'm really doing well at it. So, remember when I was telling you about my story on how I started journaling? That's exactly what I did. I would take my journal, put it next to my bed, and by doing that, it created a consistent routine of me journaling, me writing, and at the end of the day, now that's what I do every day, you know? So, yeah, we need to start habit stacking, really start watching videos on it, reading on it, and it will serve you once you've created a routine and you've created like um, a plan. Then you don't need motivation for it, because many a times we're like, yeah, I need to be motivated in order to do this. But it's actually like, child, you don't need motivation. Just build a system or routine, because motivation is based on your emotions. It's like a temporary spark where, oh, I have to get this done. I need motivation. No, just choose to create a system or create a routine for yourself. And through that, by being consistent in it, you can just do it. No need for motivation. The last thing I really want to say on building habits for yourself is that you need to make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying to do. Guys, you won't start habits and stick with them if you don't enjoy doing them and if they're not easy for you to do. Many a times, as people, we tend to step away from doing things that are difficult because, actually, my sister said this to me. She said, Bilo, just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's impossible, you know? So, yeah, many times we like to move away from things that are difficult because we feel like they're impossible. But honestly, they're just hard to do. That's just it, right? And we just want to do less work. So, yeah, make your habits very attractive. Make your routine something you enjoy doing, whether it's listening to music and that helps you to work out. Go ahead, take the leap of faith and get to it, right? Now, last thing that I want to tell you is that because we've spoken about reflecting, we've spoken about creating new habits. Now I really want to tell you that you need to spend time with yourself and be more conscious on what you think and what you say to yourself. Self-talk is so important. That's why people tend to do self-care routines, or they tend to do a Sunday reset. It's because it's just that moment where you're most present with yourself. So try and spend time with yourself as an individual. Sit with yourself, learn more about yourself, and learn about how you handle situations. And yeah, that will really help you to be more confident with how you navigate life. Guys, that's it. Hey, for today's episode, I hope you enjoyed it. Please do rate the podcast if you'd like to, and then also please follow our Instagram page. And then, yeah, I'm gonna ask you one last question, and you can answer it in the tab below. So I'm gonna ask you, what is something that's good that happened to you today? And also, what is one thing that you've learned about yourself while listening to this episode? You can answer this on our Instagram. I'm gonna put a story up for the whole week, or you can also answer it in the tab below the episode. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. I love you guys always. Bye.